Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going deep into cybersecurity. Now, it doesn't matter if you're a tech wizard or just use tech to get through the day, this deep dive is for you. We're breaking down some serious research. Two presentations, actually. One is super technical, and the other, well, it looks at the whole global regulation scene. Think of it this way. We're like your cheat sheet to understanding just how huge this whole vulnerability problem has become, why those old school defenses, aren't really cutting it anymore, and how AI is changing the game for both the good guys and the bad guys.
Yeah.
By the end of this, you'll get not just the what, like how many threats are out there, but the so what it all means for the future of cybersecurity, and why anyone, and I mean anyone who uses a computer should care. Ready to dive in?
Absolutely. And I think, it's safe to say the cybersecurity landscape has really changed, even just in the last few years. Remember when things felt, well, maybe not easy, but at least manageable.
Yeah.
Vulnerabilities popped up here and there. We had time to patch. There was a sense of, relative security. Well, those days are gone. We're facing almost 200,000 known vulnerabilities today, and that number is, well, it's exploding every year. And it's not just the sheer number of bugs, it's about how fast attackers are turning them into weapons. Get this, the average time from when a vulnerability is disclosed to when it's being actively exploited, out in the wild is down to just 5 days.
5 days? That's crazy. It's like finding out your car has like a busted brake on Monday, and by Friday, someone's using it to cause mayhem on the highway. That's scary.
Yeah.
So back in 1999, there were only, 321 known vulnerabilities, right?
Yeah.
Now it's almost 200,000. That's a vulnerability explosion.
Exactly. It's mind-blowing. And there was this one event that really made everyone realize this. Log4 shell. It was like the oh no moment for the cybersecurity world.
Log4 shell, or as the cool kids call it, CVE 2021-44228. Did that almost bring the internet to a grinding halt?
It practically did. It was this vulnerability in a software library. It's called Log4j, and it's used in so many Java applications. We're talking about everything. Big tech companies, banks, government systems, you name it. It seemed like a small flaw, but with huge consequences.
I remember that. It felt like every company was scrambling to fix things. So Log4 Shell was like this giant wake-up call, showing us that one single vulnerability can trigger a domino effect across the entire digital world, right?
Absolutely. And it's not just bugs in our code anymore either. Think cloud misconfigurations, third-party software, even the way we build software itself, it's all vulnerable. Remember that SolarWinds attack? That wasn't some flaw in their software. It was about attackers sneaking bad code into their updates, like poisoning the well, turning a trusted process into a weapon.
So it's not just about fixing our code. We've got to worry about the whole ecosystem. It's a lot. This is starting to feel like whack-a-mole with vulnerabilities popping up everywhere. How do we even start to manage this?
It's overwhelming, yeah. The key is to work smarter, not harder, right? Instead of trying to patch every single vulnerability, we got to focus on managing risk.
Yeah.
Figure out which vulnerabilities are the real threats and deal with those first. We call it risk-based vulnerability management.
So instead of chasing every bug, we need to prioritize, like triage in a hospital, right?
Perfect analogy. It's about focusing on the vulnerabilities that can really hurt us, not just patching everything blindly. And that starts with, well, a change in how we think. We need to think about security earlier, integrating it into the entire process of building software, not just tacking it on at the end.
So we're talking DevSecOps.
Yeah.
Making security everyone's job throughout development, not just an afterthought.
Right. Catching vulnerabilities early is key, like preventing a disease instead of trying to cure it later. And here's where things get really interesting. AI is becoming this powerful tool for security pros.
AI for security, that's interesting. But how does AI actually, learn to spot these threats? Is it like training a dog, with treats?
Well, not exactly treats, but yeah, you're getting the idea. We basically feed the AI tons and tons of data, stuff like network traffic, system logs, known malware samples, and it learns to recognize patterns and things that stand out, anomalies, things that could signal an attack, like teaching it to tell the difference between a real Van Gogh and a really good fake.
So the AI is like this super detective, able to see stuff that would go right past a human.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not just about sifting through all that data. AI can also help us sort through those, 200,000 vulnerabilities we were talking about?
Right.
Prioritize them, right? There's this system called EPSS, the Exploit Prediction Scoring System. It's kind of like a weather forecast, but for vulnerabilities, predicting which ones are most likely to become problematic and need immediate attention.
Wow, that's incredible. So AI is helping us like stay ahead of the game even before a vulnerability becomes a big problem.
Hmm.
But, you mentioned earlier that attackers are also using AI. So how are they using this tech, for bad stuff?
Well, one way is through automation. They're using AI to scan the internet for vulnerable systems, create those phishing emails that are, well, more likely to trick people, and even write malware. It's like giving them a supercharged toolkit for causing trouble.
So it's like an AI arms race, the bad guys using it to attack and the good guys using it to defend. That's a little unnerving, isn't it?
It is, yeah. But here's the thing. AI is also helping us fight back against those AI-powered attacks. Like, think of it as using a thief's tools to catch them. For example, AI can analyze huge amounts of data from, network traffic and security alerts, spotting patterns that could mean an attack's happening right now.
So AI helps us find those needles in the haystack, the tiny little hints that something's wrong, even before there's any real damage.
You got it. And this is especially important with zero-day vulnerabilities, those flaws that are exploited before a patch is even released. Traditional security tools, they might miss those, but AI can help us, stay one step ahead, and it doesn't stop there either. AI is also changing how we react to attacks.
Oh, okay. How so?
Well, imagine this. An attack is happening right now. AI can help security teams quickly figure out what's happening, how it started, and what they need to do to contain the damage. It's like having a digital detective right there on the scene, piecing together the clues in real time.
So it's not just detecting threats, it's about reacting to them better. That makes sense.
It's all about making our defenses as quick and adaptable as the attackers themselves. But, there's one thing that often gets missed in all this tech talk, the rules of the game.
The rules. What do you mean by that?
I'm talking about regulations. Governments around the world are stepping up their cybersecurity game, creating laws to protect us from these cyber threats. And these rules are having a big impact on how companies approach security.
So it's not just about the technology, it's about the legal stuff too.
Exactly, because the bad guys, they don't care about borders, right? We need a global response. In the U.S., we've got CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. They've really stepped up, especially after that SolarWinds attack. Now there are stricter rules about reporting cyber incidents and a big focus on patching those vulnerabilities we keep talking about.
So no more sweeping vulnerabilities under the rug, hoping nobody notices.
Nope, not anymore. CISA is serious about making companies responsible for their security practices. And over in Europe, they have DORA, the Digital Operational Resilience Act. It focuses on keeping the financial sector safe. And then there's NIS2, the Network and Information Security Directive. It covers lots of industries like energy, healthcare, transportation, even government agencies.
Wow, so Europe's taking a broad approach with these cybersecurity regulations. It sounds like a lot to keep up with.
It is, yeah. But here's the good news. Many of these regulations, like DORA and NIS2, they're all about managing risk, reporting incidents quickly, and keeping a close eye on those third-party vendors. It's all about taking a proactive, strategic approach to security.
So it's like having a playbook for cybersecurity, some guidelines to help companies navigate this complicated world.
Exactly. It's not just about checking off boxes for compliance. It's about building a strong foundation for security that protects everyone.
Okay, we've covered a lot here. AI, both the good and the bad, the importance of a risk-based strategy, and the always changing world of cybersecurity regulations. It's a lot to take in. So for those of us trying to keep our companies and ourselves safe in this digital world, what are the key takeaways?
That's a great question. I think there are 5 key things to remember. Embrace AI, strengthen your compliance posture, focus on a risk-based strategy, augment your team skills, and cultivate a security-first culture. Let's break those down a bit further.
Okay, let's do it. First up, embrace AI. You've made a pretty strong case for how AI can help both attackers and defenders. But for companies that are just starting out with AI, where should they start? It can all feel a bit, well, overwhelming.
You're right, it can be. Start with the tools that are already out there, the ones that are proven. There are a ton of AI-powered solutions for things like managing vulnerabilities, gathering threat intelligence, and responding to incidents. Pick 1 or 2 areas where AI can really make a difference and start experimenting.
So start with something like maybe an AI-powered vulnerability scanner or a threat intelligence platform that uses machine learning to identify those new threats.
Baby steps, right. Exactly. Dip your toes in, get comfortable, and then you can start exploring those more advanced applications like those autonomous response systems we talked about. The key is to start somewhere, learn as you go, and gradually build up your AI expertise.
Yeah, baby steps are a good way to start. It's about building up, that AI muscle, getting your team familiar with the tech and how it can actually help. And speaking of help, let's talk about compliance for a minute.
Okay, compliance. You said earlier it's not just a box checking thing anymore. But honestly, how can we be sure it's actually making things more secure and not just like adding more paperwork?
That is the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
The trick is to make compliance work for you, not against you. Use those regulations, sure, like a guide, but don't let them be your only roadmap. Focus on really understanding and managing the risks that are most likely to trip you up.
So it's about finding that sweet spot where compliance and risk management like meet up, right? We're meeting the requirements, but we're also addressing the threats that could really hurt us.
Yeah.
You got it. It's like building a house, right? You need to meet building codes for safety, but you also want to make sure the house actually fits your lifestyle and needs. And that leads us to, well, our third point. Focus on a risk-based strategy.
You keep saying risk-based strategy, and I think I'm getting it, but can you give me like a real-world example? What does that actually look like in practice?
Okay, imagine this. You find a vulnerability in a system that's, connected to the internet, and it's handling sensitive customer data. Now, that's a high-risk situation. You need to deal with it right away. But what if that vulnerability is in a system that's, like, locked down, not connected to the internet, and doesn't have any critical stuff on it? Well, that's a much lower risk. Maybe you can, schedule that patch for later when you have a bit more time.
So it's like triage, right? Taking care of the most critical vulnerabilities first. But how do we even know which ones are the most critical in the first place?
That's where threat intelligence comes in. By understanding which vulnerabilities are already being exploited out there, those are your most wanted bugs. You can then focus your efforts on what matters most. It's like having, well, a cheat sheet for the vulnerability exam.
Right. So use threat intelligence to guide your decisions. Don't just patch everything. Got it. Okay, this is starting to make sense. What's the next thing on our list?
Augment your team's skills. Look, cybersecurity is a fast-moving field. The bad guys are always coming up with new ways to attack. To stay ahead, your team needs to be constantly learning, upgrading their skills, and adapting to new threats.
So invest in training, encourage certifications, maybe send them to conferences like TVECNON, right?
Exactly. And don't forget about cross-training. Security is not just for the security team anymore. Everyone in the company, from developers to IT to, well, even executives, everyone needs to understand the basics of cybersecurity, best practices.
So everyone needs to be a security champion, like a company-wide game of cybersecurity capture the flag.
Huh. I like that. My point is, everyone needs to be on board. Security is a team sport, and everybody's got a role to play in keeping the company safe. And that brings us to our final point, and it might be the most important one.
Okay, what's the final piece of the puzzle? All ears.
Cultivate a security-first culture. It's not just about the tools or checking compliance boxes. It's about making security a core value, something that's woven into, the very fabric of your company.
So it's about like a mindset shift more than anything.
You got it. And that starts at the top. If the CEO, the executives, if they don't prioritize security, well, it's going to be an uphill battle. Lead by example, make security non-negotiable, and empower everyone to be a part of the solution.
Okay, so lead by example, make security a core value, and empower everyone to play their part, a whole company effort.
But how do we even know if it's working? Like, how do we measure success in cybersecurity? One way is to look at how you're handling real-world threats, those real attacks. Let me give you a couple of case studies that show just how powerful AI can be and what this proactive approach to security can do. This first one comes from Gray Noise Intelligence. They were using an AI system to analyze internet traffic, and the AI picked up on some unusual activity.
So the AI was like acting like a bloodhound, sniffing out something suspicious in a sea of data.
That's a great way to put it. And this is something a human analyst might have missed. But the AI, it flagged it. It turned out to be attackers looking for a brand new vulnerability in some popular industrial video cameras, a zero-day vulnerability.
Wait, so the AI actually found a vulnerability before anyone even knew about it. That's amazing.
It is. And because they caught it so early, they were able to warn the company that made those cameras and get a patch out before the attackers could, exploit it on a large scale. A perfect example of how AI can help us stay ahead of the game. But what about when attackers actually get through? That's where our second case study comes in.
Okay, tell me more. This is interesting.
Okay, this one's about a car company in Europe. They got hit with ransomware. The attackers were already in their network. They were starting to encode everything.
Oh no, a classic ransomware nightmare. That's every company's worst fear, right?
Absolutely. But here's the twist. This company had an AI-powered security system that was, well, watching over their network. And this AI noticed something fishy going on one of the computers. Files being accessed in a weird way, privileges being used that didn't look right.
So the AI was like a digital detective, noticing these little clues that something was off.
Exactly. And here's the really cool part. The AI didn't just send an alert. It actually took action. It automatically isolated that computer from the network, stopping the ransomware from spreading to other systems.
Wow. It's like the AI was a digital firefighter, putting out the fire before it could burn down the whole building.
That is the perfect analogy. That's the power of AI and automation. It can react way faster than a human, saving companies potentially millions in losses and downtime. But these are just, glimpses into what AI can do today. The future of AI in cybersecurity, it's even more exciting and maybe a little scary too.
Exciting and scary. That's an interesting combination. What do you see happening in the future?
Well, I think we're going to see a lot more AI-powered attacks. We talked about how attackers are using AI for phishing and malware. But as this technology gets more advanced, who knows what they'll be able to do? It's like a never-ending game of cat and mouse. We need to keep evolving our defenses to keep up.
So it's an AI arms race, and we need to make sure the good guys are the ones winning.
Exactly. We have to use AI to make our defenses smarter, faster, and more adaptable. But there's something important that often gets lost in all this talk about AI, the human element. That's still essential.
Wait, so you're saying that even in this, super high-tech future, humans are still important. Why is that?
Because AI is a tool, and just like any tool, it needs a skilled operator. We need security professionals who understand how AI works, who can understand the data it produces, and make smart decisions about what to do with it. AI can help us sift through mountains of information, but at the end of the day, it's humans who decide what action to take.
So it's not about replacing humans with AI. It's about making them stronger. It's a partnership.
Exactly. The best security teams will be the ones that can combine human expertise with the power of AI. It's like a superhero team up, each bringing their own unique strengths to the fight. And that brings us to our final thought for today. Imagine a world where AI is so advanced that it can patch all your systems automatically, perfectly, without any human involvement. Would you trust it?
Wow, that's a tough one. It would be amazing to have an AI just take care of all those, security updates, but it's also a little scary to think about giving an AI that much control. What do you think?
It's a question we're all going to have to think about as AI gets more and more powerful. Finding that balance, the right balance between what AI can do and human oversight, that's going to be key. It's not about blindly trusting AI or rejecting it completely. It's about finding the right way for humans and AI to work together to create a safer and more secure digital world for all of us.
That's a perfect note to end on. We covered a lot of ground today. We talked about this explosion of vulnerabilities, the good and bad of AI, how regulations are changing, and why a risk-based approach to security is so important. But the biggest takeaway for me is this. Cybersecurity, it's a team effort. It's all about people and technology working together, constantly learning and adapting to stay ahead of the bad guys.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's a journey, and we're all in this together.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive. We hope you found this exploration of the cybersecurity landscape insightful and maybe, just maybe, a little bit exciting. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay safe out there.